tourists soaked up the tropical sun, exotic drinks, and ignored the looming dread of their jobs back home. A group was taken to a smoldering rock pile. Their guide explained the rocks have been baking in the fire for hours. Several Pacific Islanders wearing flower leis and braided long-leaf skirts spread the rocks with large poles, then took turns walking and occasionally standing on the scorching rocks. A newlywed husband said the spectacle was an illusion anyone could do because a thin layer of ash protected your feet. While ash can protect your feet during similar performances, it might not work with this one. The Pacific Islanders were Fiji's Firewalkers. And this is Legends from the Pacific. Aloha, Bula, and thank you for joining us. This is Legends from the Pacific, episode 63, Fiji's Firewalkers. I am Kamuala Kaneshiro, a native Hawaiian professional writer, speaker, and Comic-Con panelist with extensive film and television experience. I study mythology, I've encountered unusual things, and I'm a geek. You can support us by getting 2 or 3 of your friends to listen to our show. This simple request goes a long way in helping us grow our show. Later in this episode, your featured song and Hawaiian word. I'd just like to state that we'll be talking about firewalking, so, dear listener, please do not confuse this firewalking or vila vila I revo, which translates to jumping into the oven, with the Samoan performance of fire knife dancing, where an individual spins a flaming machete. These are 2 different things, and the Samoan fire knife dancing is a story for another time. Now, many of you may know I attended magic school as a kid and became a magician member of LA's Magic Castle. That being said, I don't feel this episode exposes any of our trade secrets. Okay, firewalking is part of various Asian and some Middle Eastern cultures. However, when people see the term firewalking, they usually imagine people quickly walking over heated coals during a corporate retreat or some other kind of trust-building exercise. As stated in our opening story, many people can do this because of thermodynamics, and the ash covering the coals provides some protection to your feet. But this is not the case with Fiji's Firewalkers. You see, the stones have usually been baking in the fire for hours. There's little ash coating the stones, and the Firewalkers would stroll or stand upon the burning rocks. I strongly discourage anyone from attempting this, since there's been tourists who tried this, and while it seemed like they were successful, grotesque blisters formed on the bottom of their feet that were so painful it ruined days of their vacation. Personally, I could not do what the Firewalkers do. I mean, think about it. I'm sure you have struggled walking on burning sand beaches or cement paths during particularly hot days. But these tourists thought they could withstand something hotter and walk away unscathed? I guess someone had too much liquid courage. Now, Fiji is Australia and New Zealand's tropical vacation destination, similar to how Hawaii is for America, or at least Western America, since Eastern America favors the Caribbean and Bahamas because they're closer. Anyway, firewalking in Fiji is a big tourist attraction, but it was a sacred ritual that ensured a good harvest or fishing. Historic illustrations showed traditional fire pits as big as swimming pools. Imagine how hot it got in there. That's a far cry from some firewalking events now, where the pit is just about the same size as an average circular dinner table. The following is the Legends from the Pacific original story and is based on cultural records. In days past, there was a storyteller who shared the best tales. His listeners showered him with the finest gifts. A warrior chief wanted to present the storyteller with a memorable gift. The chief knew the storyteller loved eating eel, so he fished for the biggest one. While the chief fished, he noticed something in a hole. He grabbed it, thinking it was an eel, but it was a Tui Namoliwai, or spirit. The warrior chief was excited and said the spirit would make a fine gift for the storyteller. The spirit begged, "Please do not give me to the storyteller. If you release me, I will make you a powerful chief." The chief laughed. "I have no need for this. I am already a powerful warrior chief." The spirit pleaded, "If you release me, I will make the most beautiful woman on the island your wife." The chief laughed. "I am happily married, and my wife is the most beautiful woman on the island." The spirit pleaded, "If you release me, I will teach you the secret of walking on fire." This intrigued the chief, and he agreed. The spirit told the chief to gather rocks, instructed him how to bake them in fire for many hours, and showed how to spread the rocks. The spirit jumped onto the fiery rocks and beckoned the chief. The chief stepped onto the rocks, and his feet did not burn. The spirit smiled. "From this day forth, I grant you and your descendants this gift of firewalking. I will always be with you in the leaves used during this sacred ritual." The next time the storyteller finished one of his fantastic tales, the chief stood. "For such a great story, my gift to you is this performance." The chief approached a fire pit. Its glowing red and orange embers surrounded rocks that baked all day. Heat waves blurred his image from the storyteller and others as he stepped onto the scorching rocks. Everyone gasped as the chief stood unharmed in the fire. Then they cheered. The storyteller congratulated the chief and said, "I merely share these magnificent tales, but you embody them." You can help support our show while enjoying unaired monthly stories and other nifty benefits by becoming a Legends from the Pacific Patreon supporter. So become a Legends from the Pacific Patreon supporter today. As of this recording, all of our funding goes directly into our show, and I have yet to receive any type of payment. Today, firewalking continues even though the sacred ritual has now been commercialized for tourism, and Western religions have tried for centuries to stop this performance. The warrior chief's descendants believe they can walk on fire because of their bloodline and by preparing several days before the walk by abstaining from eating coconut and did not have sex. Scientists and doctors have studied the firewalkers and found they did not have any special physical advantage like thicker calloused feet and concluded this was a case of mind over matter. While it's thrilling to see someone lay on a bed of nails or walk on broken glass, these illusions are broken when we see masses of corporate people scampering across hot coals, or realize it'd be more impressive if someone were to stand on a single nail or one piece of broken glass without being injured. I've had the pleasure of meeting many famous magicians, including Penn and Teller. Now, while it may seem their show Penn and Teller Fool Us is trying to out magicians, that is not the case. You see, Penn and Teller openly admit their show is to find magicians who perform such phenomenal magic, it gives them that sense of wonderment they experienced early in their careers. Which is why it warms my heart to share stories like this episode, which imply there are still some mysterious things in our world that remain unknown. If you like what you heard, please give us a rating, write a review, and share Legends from the Pacific with your friends and family. I'd really appreciate it. Our theme song is Mystery by Tavana, courtesy of High Sessions. Sound effects are by Sound Effects Factory. Our music coordinator is Matt Duffy, aka DJ Triple Bypass. Links and show notes can be found on our website, legendsfromthepacific.com, including a link to your featured song, which is the instrumental piece Born and Raised by Ian O'Sullivan, courtesy of High Sessions. Legends from the Pacific was written, produced, and edited by me, Kamuela Kaneshiro. I also wrote our original stories. Your featured Hawaiian word is ahi. Ahi means fire. An example of ahi is, many enjoy telling stories around the ahi. Once again, ahi is Hawaiian for fire. As a side note, ahi is also the Hawaiian name for yellowfin and big-eye tuna. Thank you once again for listening. Mahalo and a hui ho.